People always ask how I balance my family life with 400 shows a year. I'm just doing what I love with the people I love. It's my magic life.
I like Wes Iseli. I like everything about him.
All right, today we have a legend in magic. This guy, if you've ever been to a magic convention, you've probably seen this guy. I think the guy has triplets or quadruplets because I don't know how you can be at every single convention and run a website and be a stand-up comedy magician, entertainer. Everybody knows him. He's known all over. This guy's amazing. I'm getting worse and worse with these introductions, but everybody, it's Meir Yedid. What's up, buddy? How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me. I see we have the same barber now.
Dude, we do. Looks good. Looks good on you, sir.
All is good over here. I'm glad to be with you. Thanks for having me, Natalie and Wes.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for being here.
I'm excited. Let's get into it, man. So I have to ask, how'd you get started in magic? What was your start?
Well, I was born in Israel. And, everybody has a relative who teaches them a card trick at one time or another. So all my uncles take credit for getting me into magic. But what actually, so I was doing card tricks very, very young, your basic stuff. But then probably when I was about 6 or 7 years old, we got our first TV set when TV started airing in Israel. And every Thursday night, there were these hands that would teach one magic trick before the regular TV show started. I remember it was like Mission Impossible, Gunsmoke, that kind of stuff was running right after the first 3 minutes of them teaching a trick. And I learned all those tricks and I did them. And, probably that's how I got into magic back then. But then when I moved to the United States, I was 10 years old. And now we have libraries, we have magic on TV. Shortly after we moved to the US, Marshall Brodeen started with all his infomercials with a TV, magic cards, TV Mystic. I had to get everything. So I ended up buying all that stuff. And then, I found magic shops online. I used to send quarters to every cat, in Boy's Life and the comic books. You send a quarter, you get a catalog. And I'd start ordering, the $1 tricks, things that I could afford. You'd scotch tape coins on a index card, so the mailman won't know their coins in there, theory.
So did you ever find out who the hands were? Who were the magic hands?
No, I asked around, and there are people trying to find out who it was. They're not even sure if it was shot in Israel. It could have been something that was syndicated from outside. They're not sure.
Wow, that's pretty awesome, man. See, I asked that question and people's like, oh, it's always the same answer. I hate that question because it's a magic kit or it's this or it's that. Dude, magic hands on television, it wasn't even connected to a body. It was just hands. That's all it took.
Yeah, I remember they taught how to turn ink into water into ink with a goldfish in there. I didn't have a goldfish, but I was able to turn water to ink or ink to water or one of those. They also taught a very good rope routine I used for years and years. I should probably start doing it again.
Wow. So did you start doing kids' birthday parties? Did you do that whole route as well?
I did kid shows probably when I was in my late teens. I did a bunch, and I worked for the Magic Townhouse for a while as an employee. Okay. And that meant you did like 2 or 3 kid shows on a Saturday and a Sunday when they had all the kid shows in. And they used to also send me out because Dick Brooks was Bravo the Magician, but he would often book more than one magician per show, per time slot. So there were a whole bunch of us that were all called Bravo the Magician. So when you called the townhouse, they booked Bravo the Magician, but they never really knew which Bravo they were going to get.
Wow. So we've had Dorothy and Dick on here a couple of times, but I didn't know there was multiple Bravo the Magicians.
She, in a pinch, she also did Bravo. But when all the male Bravos were on the road, she would do the kid shows at the theater.
Wow. So who else was in your time at the Magic Townhouse?
Well, during the kid shows, there were Ray Nardini and another guy, I forget his name. Also Ray, but I forget his last name. There were a couple of Rays, and more or less that was like the core. So the four of us would be doing the kid shows. But I also, before I worked for them as an employee doing kid shows, I was already doing their close-up shows on the weekends.
Is that where Levent and all of them would be in the close-up room?
Yeah, he came later, but yeah. No, Levent also did kid shows, I think.
Okay.
But that was after I left.
See, I'm trying to wrap my head around what that was. I was trying to make it a castle, but it's a lot of kid shows, but they had a bar as well.
No bar. Okay, it's very complicated because, you know, to pay rent on 3rd Avenue and 61st Street, you got to do everything. So they did kid shows and birthday parties on the weekends. They had 3 floors, so they could have 6 kid shows going on. Maybe up to 12, but it never got that bad. So what happens is the early group, there are 3 rooms and there are 3 birthday parties going on, 1 in each room with clowns and food and sugar and cake and cream. Then those 3 go downstairs to the main kid show theater where, let's say I was doing a kid show. Meanwhile, the next 3 groups would come in to see that show first and have their cake after. So you have 6 parties watching my show. 1 just ate, then the next one goes up to eat. I have a little break. By the time they're done eating, I can do my second show, and I'll be doing that for the, you know, and it can get pretty hectic. But that wasn't always the case. Sometimes it would be like 2 parties or 1 part, you know. But in worst case scenario, 3 parties show, 3 parties. So you had 6. Yeah, you could have up to 12 in a day, but it never got that bad.
Now, was it mostly kids' parties there, or did they?
Oh no, no. This was Saturdays and Sundays during the day.
Okay.
In the evening, on Friday and Saturday, was the adult close-up show that held 60 or so people, and that was included a buffet, and the people could bring their own alcohol because in New York, in order to get a liquor license, you need to know some people, you know. And have a lot of bribery money. Still that way. But, you know, so there would be a close-up show, and between each performer, there'd be a break. So people would come in, they would have dinner, and then the first close-up show performer would go on, maybe a second one would go on, and they'd have a break, they'd have drinks, they'd have dessert, appetite, you know, and this would go on till about 2 o'clock in the morning or so. From about 8 o'clock is when the doors open.
Wow.
So, but even then, if it was like really crowded, we had an extra theater and you could do 2 shows simultaneously. So they ate in one place, but they saw 2 different. So we all performed twice when it got real hectic. Also, during the day, not too many people know this, but Dick and Dorothy bought at the Actors TV studio. And during the day, there were acting classes for commercials and sitcoms and soap operas. And the teachers were all producers, directors, and writers for those soap operas and stuff. So a lot of times the students would actually get a job while taking a class. And there would also be interns. Those same actors and actresses would be the interns during the kid shows and also the evening shows working in the kitchen. So they had a lot of, you know, things going around. Now, Dick and Dorothy were brilliant in everything they did that way. It's controlled chaos.
That sounds like it, man.
Yeah.
Golly, but what a great stomping ground. What a great, I mean,
yeah.
You got to work out all your new material and you got it down pat.
And yeah, absolutely. We did 2 to 4 shows a weekend, and we got free food, which was the most important part of the whole thing. It's always the most important part of the whole thing.
Especially starting out.
I work for food. I should have that on my business card.
All right. So how long did you work with them?
All right. So I probably started performing at the Tan House in 81, and I continued to perform there till about 85 or 86.
Okay.
Or maybe 81, I think I started performing.
So I first met you at a convention. I know it's over 20 years ago at this point, but about 2008, surfing the internet, I found your appearance on Paul Daniels' show. And I was like, that's my friend. I just met him at the convention. Dude, how old were you in that bit? because that was amazing. It must have been
Yeah,
a good
that
hit.
was 1985, so I would have been 25 years old.
That's a huge get. I mean, that's like Fool Us nowadays.
Much bigger. Sorry,
No,
it was the highest rated show in Remember, England at that time, I think, only had 4 channels. This
wow.
was, and it was the perfect year for me to do it, because that year was right after he won the Golden Rose. And when he won the Golden Rose, it's like the top Emmy or whatever the equivalent is, was like the highest, the best variety show award, like an Oscar in the movies. So it was at its peak when I did it. And what happened is it airs on Saturday night, and most of the country watches it. It's insane. It's the highest rated show on television when it airs on Saturday night. And then the following week, the rerun on BBC Two on Sunday night is the second highest rated show of that week also. So it's the most money I ever made for a 4.5-minute act.
Wow. So did you get residuals off that?
Oh yeah, they sold it to Canada, all the Middle East, Europe, Japan. Yeah, it aired everywhere except the U.S.
Wow.
goodness.
Wow. So, wow. I don't even know where to go. So how did they treat you? How was the experience? Was it amazing? The whole
Oh yeah,
situation?
no, it was great. Because remember, BBC One is the #1 station. This is the highest rated show. I get treated tremendously well. There are cars driving me around. I have a dressing room, like ground level, right next to I mean, they really treated me well. And as a matter of fact, a funny thing happened. My dressing room is like ground level, because like that's where the VIPs for the highest rated show are, and not because of me, because of the show. So I'm walking out of my dressing room one day, after our rehearsal, and a guy crashes into me, running down the hall, and I look at his eyes, and the eyes looked kind of weird to me, and I didn't think much of it. So I'm walking out, I meet Paul Daniels, he was waiting for me, we were going to go to dinner, and I say, it dawns on me who the guy looked like, and I said, that guy looks just like David Bowie. And he laughs, he says, that was David Bowie.
Oh, wow.
Wow. You got tackled by David Bowie.
Yeah, I thought it was just funny, because the 2 different colored eyes threw me, but I figured out.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was the same. We were taping at the exact same time as the first. What were those concerts they were doing back then? Live Aid.
Live Aid. Okay. Yeah.
So all the musicians were there, and Wimbledon was going on at the same time, and I was at in Wimbledon Hotel, and all the tennis players were there, but I knew none of them.
Yeah.
So how long did the Paul Daniels show? It was every Saturday for like 9 years, wasn't it?
Something like that. I don't know, but very short seasons. It wasn't like 52 weeks. I think they only ran like 10 weeks or 15 weeks or something like that.
All right, so you go from the townhouse to international exposure. Did you get a lot of international gigs out of that?
I was already known and lecturing all over the world anyway before that, but that definitely made me popular in England, because after that show aired, I was probably performing or lecturing there 5 times a year, maybe, for a few years because of that. Also, other European countries booked me probably because of that.
25 years old, and I've seen that video. I know 25, 30 times, Mayor. I love it. We have a Facebook group. I'm going to put that link in the Facebook group so people can see it. But you're calm, cool, and collected. You're just hanging out. It looks, and I guess you were, but it looked like you were just hanging out with a magic friend, just doing a routine you've done 1,000 times.
Yeah, we decided to do it because at that time he just added that bar scene to the show, so it wasn't all staged. This was like a close-up thing. So we decided to do it sitting down instead of the way I usually do it, which is standing. And we had like 2 rehearsals, and then I had the rest of the week off, and then we did it. But he's a super nice guy, easy to work with. He was great. And he's the one who saw me perform in Vegas and asked me over to do the show. And I said, well, why? I just published the book. You could do it. He says, no, I want you to do it. And
Yeah, well, I have the book, but I can't do it. It's amazing. Explain to everybody what the illusion is.
So I was the first person to kind of put together a magic act that only uses their hands without any other props. And it's kind of like, because I was so unique, everybody at the time was doing card tricks and coin tricks, and I was making my fingers disappear and telescope up and down, into my hand, and then cut my finger off, and they vanished. Most magicians have never, ever seen anything like that before. So I was getting really great reactions because I was the odd guy in every show. When you have 10 performers and they're all doing the same basic kind of props anyway, not the same tricks, but similar props, and then I go in and make my fingers disappear, it's crazy. And it's just being unique. Back then, Arthur Benjamin and I performed a lot. He was a fast calculating mathematician. He later became a PhD at the university. Tom Noddy was also, we did a lot of shows together because he was also unique. He was the original bubble guy.
Okay.
And also Jeff Justice, who did Rocky Raccoon, back then. So we saw each other a lot because we were the oddball, unique magicians.
When did you come up with the whole finger manipulation routine? Was that in your 20s, or had you been doing it since you were a kid?
No, I went in my teens. I wanted to do, when I was in high school, I wanted to do magic, but I don't want to. You can't carry decks of cards into school, not back then anyway. And I had the idea that I always want to be prepared to do magic. I always want to not reach in and remove coins and cards. I always wanted to do magic, in the moment. And I these were handy. My hands were handy, but I started working with all the little finger tricks that you could find in books, and there are a lot of them out there. And I started, messing around with it. There was a magician named Tony LaPalato who actually came up with a pinky back palm, which I used for the majority of the routine. And, so I learned that, and I did that, and I took his idea and I expanded it to other fingers. And, nobody in New York actually cared. I was like the irritating kid, making his fingers disappear while everybody was interested in the latest card and coin move. So I would do the routine, and it kept growing, and it became an act, but nobody really cared about it in New York. And then what happened is, like, one of the great moments in my life probably is I decided to attend the Desert Magic Seminar in Las Vegas. It was 1980. 1980. So I attend the convention, and I already know, like, some of the people because they used to come to Cannon's Jubilee. And I think Obie O'Brien asked me, hey, why don't you do something? Because the night before, they had what they called a bull session, where anybody who wants to do 5 minutes, they could, So I go in there, and in the audience was Di Vernon, Slidini, Siegfried and Roy. Everybody. This was like, they were all in the front row. It was like a who's who of West Coast magic over there.
Oh.
And they're all doing card tricks. And Alan Ackerman, Darryl, Paul Harris. These are the people I only heard about and read about, and some of them I knew, but I never really thought I would ever perform for them. Johnny Thompson was in the audience. So I do the most difficult card trick I know. It was unbelievable. Like, there are 26 moves in 2 minutes, 26 sleights. And, I got my polite applause, and then I just made my finger disappear. And all of a sudden there was this gasp, because remember, in the West Coast, nobody knew this irritating kid who makes his fingers disappear. So there's this gasp, and I don't get it. Why is this a gasp? I just made one finger. I didn't even do the act yet. And then I start doing the rest of the act, and the gasp, the other ring finger vanishes, the middle finger, the index finger, the thumb, and all of a sudden the applause starts in the middle of the act. And by the end of the act, I get a standing ovation. You see, Vernon and Siegfried, and everybody was standing because of this stupid kid that's making his finger disappear.
Wow.
And that's when I befriended a lot of those people that became lifelong friends, like Daryl and Paul Harris and John Cornelius. And I mean, because they were all there and they saw it. So it opened up a lot of doors just because everybody wanted to see the guy with the finger tricks. But I still didn't, I felt great, but I didn't really think much about it until I came back to New York. And nobody could remember my name. Meir Yedid is not like a name you're going to remember the first time you hear it. So they were calling all their friends in New York. Who's that kid, that skinny kid? I was skinny back then. Who's that skinny kid who makes his fingers disappear? And they were all getting these calls. So by the time I got home, everybody in New York heard what happened in Las Vegas. And that was like, I got a huge ego at the time. And, you know, nobody could talk to me because, you know, but the usual stuff. But that was like an incredible moment that opened up tremendous amount of doors before the Paul Daniels show in Europe.
Wow, that is awesome.
You weren't just the stupid kid making your fingers disappear anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. And now,
Well,
I want to work the Magic Townhouse.
yeah.
So how about the Magic Townhouse? Did you ever make your fingers disappear there?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was part of my act. So I did it everywhere.
That didn't freak out the kids?
No, and I didn't do it in the kid show. I did it in the adult show. But yeah, it used to get, I used to also get standing ovations from lay people, not just magicians when I did that for a while. And that doesn't happen anymore. I guess the world is much more jaded. But when you see a finger, a guy cut his finger off and it bounces off the table and onto the floor, it's like a squeamish thing.
Well, people know prop fingers. Back then, probably it wasn't something, they didn't have a Spirit Halloween every Halloween where they saw fingers. Right. You know? I think that's what that part is. But I've seen you do it at a magic convention. Every other bit gets gasps because, I mean, it is beautiful, Mayor. I love that routine. I wish I could do it. Did you ever study like Greg Irwin stuff for finger flexibility and things, or you just always?
I know him. We're friends, but no, he tells me I should because otherwise I'm going to get arthritis.
I don't know how flexible you are.
I practice before a show, but that's about it.
That's the only warm up you do is before a show.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know, guys. The way he does this, it is. Yeah, it hurts me thinking about it. I've played around and it hurts. So God bless you. You're awesome. All right. So we're talking about making your fingers disappear and all of this. And I saw you at a magic convention. You showed me magic, didn't even pay attention. See the video in 2008, go back to a magic convention, and I noticed something's different about your hand. You are literally missing a finger now. And I'm like, you know, I don't know if you know behind the scenes, people say, what are the coincidence? The guy that made his fingers disappear ended up with that. I mean, I heard that from other people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
it's like the Twilight Zone. As soon as it happened, Dick Cavett comes over to me and says, you know, this could be a Twilight Zone episode, except nobody would believe it.
So tell everybody, what finger are you missing?
So I was doing my act right-handed up until the Paul Daniels show. If you see that tape, I'm doing the act right-handed. Comedy Tonight, if you see that tape online, I'm doing it right-handed. But in 1986, I got into a car accident and the car flipped over 3.5 times on the Long Island Expressway. And the guardrail hit the back of my hand and ripped off a third of my hand, my right hand, because I used to drive with the right hand on top of the steering wheel, and the rear guardrail went through the roof. I saw the police report. They found the 2 fingers and this piece of skin holding them together about 100 yards away from where the car ended up. But somebody was smart enough to put it in an ice cooler. There was a helicopter landed, picked me up, took me to the hospital. They reattached everything. So for a while, my right hand had all the fingers connected. And then the ring finger didn't take. So actually what I have left now on my hand is half my ring finger and half my pinky and no ring finger. So back in the hospital, you know, I already published my book called Finger Fantasies. And I said, you know, anybody could learn this. So now I had to prove that anybody can learn it by learning to do the entire act left-handed. But I'm a right-handed guy. I don't have the muscle strength in the left hand, and it's still not as good lefty as it was righty, but I can still do the whole act, just like it's in the book, left-handed, word for word. So if you see a current video of me doing it, you'll see it left-handed, but it's identical to the right-handed version.
So can you just hold up your hand for the camera? We're doing this visually too. Look at that, Natalie.
So you see it's like half a pinky and no ring. But
Wow.
I can count these as 10 for the people who are watching on video. Look, 10, 9, 8. No, that's the wrong way. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, and 4 is 10.
There you go. That works. It works.
I like it.
So as magicians, I'm getting my hands off pocket. My hands are getting clammy. They're getting sweaty just thinking about it. What else happened? Did you hit your head? Did you do anything?
Oh yeah,
else?
my head was the size of a basketball, but eventually healed. My shoulder could not be moved. My elbow, because I was in a cast for. Remember, I ended up having 14 surgeries over 3 weeks because it was reconstructive, and then it didn't take, and they cleaned it and then removed scar tissue and blah blah, and then a year and a half of therapy on top of it. Because, when you're in a cast, you can't move this when it's healing. So you're in a cast for 3-4 weeks. You need physical therapy because you can't move your shoulders, you can't move your elbows, you can't move your wrist. So I had to get all that mobility back while practicing and relearning my act left-handed.
So there was no doubt that you weren't going to quit doing magic. You were just going to be able.
No, not at all. I already was doing all kinds of new jokes about my fingers.
God bless you.
Right after I got out of the hospital, I emceed a big show for the SAM, all bandaged up, and I was doing finger stuff. No, there was no doubt.
That's awesome. That's awesome. How long were you out of work after the incident?
Well, as you know, agents are a really weird group of people, mentally speaking. And what happens is the second you vanish off their radar, they think you're dead. They stop booking you. It's like a magician who has like a lot of work locally, does a cruise ship. This is like a dream gig, comes back from the cruise ship, and none of those agents are hiring him anymore because they were replaced by other people. So, I really couldn't perform for at least 6 months to a year because the bandages and the stitches and stuff, and the skin grafting needs time to heal. And you don't want to get the gory stuff, but basically, all the agents assumed, I vanished from their radar, so I wasn't getting any more gigs anyway. Wow. So that's when I decided to focus more on the manufacturing end of the magic as opposed to the performing end of the magic.
And that's mymagic.com, your website. Right.
Yeah.
Amazing stuff. I don't know how, you have exclusives with so many amazing products. It's like, wow, Meir, that's fantastic, man.
Because everybody's my friend, they got to know me because of the fingers, some of them, and, doing something unique like a finger act or whatever you do that's unique can open up doors and is a conversation starter within the industry. Because, hey, you're the finger guy. Hey, hi, I'm the finger, and conversations, and you make a lot of friends that way. I was very, 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 very lucky that way, because I still consider myself a card guy, but I know my finger routine is what opened up all the doors.
Wow. Well, for you having, it looks like that finger is like sewed together with that other hand. It looks like your ring finger is kind of sewed with that pinky. Is that correct? Like what's left of your ring?
Oh no, they removed the ring finger completely.
So that's just your. Okay. So you're still able to do card moves that you would think. How long did that take you to be able to do that and think about that? At this point,
you had to make adjustments. I once said, so now I could do 100 sleights instead of 1,000. It's still 90 more than I need. Okay. Because everybody has their 10 favorite sleights they use for almost all their card routines. So I just had to get my 10, or it's more than 10, but I had to get the ones that are comfortable. I had to rework them left-handed. And it's actually not that difficult with cards. Because most card work is left-hand dependent, except for palming, it's almost all left-hand dependent. So it really wasn't that difficult for cards, and I was a card guy. Coins, I was very conscious about, because, you know, when you make a coin disappear, everybody wants to see your hands empty afterwards. So I was, yes, I didn't do coins for a long time. But I also started at the same time as once I started doing close-up, I also try to figure out the way to hold your hand without showing the back of the hand. So you always see me like with a closed fist pointing at things and gesturing. I never open up my hand, you know, flat, because that allows people to see how many fingers I have. So I'm always like in a comfortable, you know, fist kind of hand. You know, I figured if you can hide an elephant on stage, I could hide the fact that I'm missing a finger.
Yeah.
Well, I know the day that you, I saw you at a convention, you did your finger routine. And then like at the end of the routine, you reveal that you're missing a finger. And that's like the first time anybody knows. And you've been on stage.
Yeah, for lay people, yeah, that's the first time. I've been closing my stage comedy act that way. And I don't think I did the BS thing when you saw the show. But what I noticed, back in the 80s, after I got back into the time after the accident, I was working at mostly Magic, which is another nightclub in New York. I put together a routine to close my act, which talks about missing a finger and how I overcame it by doing a routine that specifically you cannot do if you're really missing a finger. But I showed it to everybody. I told them I had a car accident, and then I started doing this magic that's impossible with this hand. And I thought it was a nice, you know, way to end the act, be honest, be truthful. But what I didn't expect is that many people, you know, magicians would bring their friends to see my show. And I heard this so many times. On the way home, there would be an argument when the magician would tell their friends, oh, no, he's really missing a finger. And they didn't believe it. I showed them the hand and they didn't believe it. Why would they believe it? Because at the beginning of the act, I made all my fingers disappear and I brought them back. And at the end of the act, I'm showing them that the finger is missing. Why would they believe that?
Wow. And you show back, your thumb gone. I mean,
yeah, no, it's really gone. Yeah. So now I put it into my stand-up act, where I talk about it with part of a comedy routine at the end. But I push it harder, so it's obvious that I'm missing a finger. But at the end, I end with, like, I don't have one here, but with a BS board that I sell. So basically, I say that this entire act has been BS, bullshit. And it gets big laughs because of the way it's structured. So now, even though they saw me make my fingers disappear, I brought them back. And then I told them it's really missing and I was in a car accident. And this is done as comedy, not as a tragedy. And then at the end, I tell them everything that I just did is fake. So I added that phase of doubt to the stage act that I was getting naturally in the close-up act, which, you know, I didn't expect any of that. You know, I expected you tell somebody you're missing a finger, they're going to believe you.
Right.
wow. Wow.
That's funny.
So I'm changing the subject drastically now.
Go ahead.
I'm looking at the website. I want to know more about you. What is the acting thing? I didn't know you were an actor as well.
Yeah, I've taken acting classes, and nothing that you would see or do or anything, but I can act.
Okay.
I don't
okay.
I don't have time to pursue anything like that.
Well, I just saw it on the website. And I'm like,
yeah, no, I've done it. And, you know, a lot of times if you do a reality show, you're acting the way they want you to act. Like when I did the Billy Buys Brooklyn, I did last year, that reality show, where I walked in and pretended I was a gambling expert, which I kind of am.
right,
but
well,
at the same time, you're acting. They're telling you what to say and what to do and what they need.
did you bring in any of your own personal collection to that?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. That was part of the deal.
of like that Pawn Star show. They want you to bring in
exactly. It's almost all scripted. So
yeah. Okay.
But
right.
yet I haven't acted in years. I mean, I don't really do that. You can't do everything.
Well, I was wondering, because up in New York, I was wondering what kind of character you'd be portrayed at. Are you
Oh no, I'm not that good. It would all be versions. It'll all be versions of myself.
Hey, what here? So tell me about the Mohegan Sun Casino. You're doing that a lot lately.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing it once a month for the rest of the year. And that's just like an easy, fun gig for me to do. My friend Jim Spinato has been there for 12 years, believe it or not. And he does 4 shows a week at the Comics Comedy Club. And he has an opening act for every show. And he asked me about 5 years ago to do it. And I said, yeah, it gave me a chance to break in some new material and my stand-up stuff that I wanted to break in. So I'm pretty much doing it once a month for the rest of the year, or twice a month sometimes.
And that's something you only bring in new material if you need to, because they're all non-repeat customers.
No, but that's the purpose. That's the purpose. Right. I mean, I'm not getting rich off of this, so I need to, I try new jokes and, because I don't really perform that much anymore. So I need to, get the rhythm going and the humor and once a month, I'd like to do more, but I have a business to run.
Well, I mean, tell me about your business. Tell everybody about mymagic.com, because exclusives you have there. You just did a deal with Rocco with his coin trick. Natalie and I lesson from Rocco when we first got married back in 2008. We went to D-Light Studios and spent a week with him. We'll never
you're
forget
still
that.
married.
Hey, it was awesome. It was fantastic.
It was
He just never stops. It's my type of hanging out with a magician. He doesn't have an off switch magic, and I loved it.
No, he's we worked a lot over the years. I was opening for him for a while and stuff. And the thing about him is when non-magicians see his act, he's doing magic. He's doing wish fulfillment for them. You don't have hair. He gives you a comb, your lipstick, it's really, they feel like this. If you're a magician, that's what you would do. And he always gets standing ovations and, he's great.
He's awesome. He's awesome.
But I put out one of his tricks recently.
No, but he's had that trick. He's been working on that trick for a long time. I mean, so with this, and the video that you came out with, and the coins, I hadn't seen him do coins across with it. I've just seen him make it vanish. Some of the routine, I watched that video, man. That's some great, and I've seen that before, but that's like, maybe I do need to have it again because I got it somewhere, but maybe I need it again. It's awesome. It's awesome. You got a lot.
There's a 45-minute tutorial with about 10 tricks in there using the same gimmick. So, I mean, we everything I touch, I do to death. I do the research, when was the first soldered coin ever made or published, what year, and then I send the coins out to other coin magicians to see what they think. And Michael Rubenstein is on that Rocco video with 2 of his routines, a bunch of my routines. So I always like to over deliver. It's just the way I am.
That's awesome. That's great.
Well,
you need that.
your book.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So I got all kinds of notes here. I just saw on your website, and you've mentioned so many names, and Siegfried and Roy giving you a standing ovation, and all these amazing magicians. But top line magicians from all over the world, hanging out with Harry Lorraine and Kreskin. I mean, they're just your buddies. You just go out to coffee with them. It's so awesome, Mayor. I'm so jealous. How's Kreskin?
Oh, he's fine. He just had his 88th birthday last week. He's still performing and working on his next project, next book. If there's he just did a voiceover for a cartoon. I forget the name, but he plays a tree in there, the magical tree.
That's cool.
Talk about residuals. They say they're the best. Just do a voiceover cartoon and you're set, man. Wow. So you also have another project coming up. You're going to have 4 different appearances of Masters of Illusion coming up soon.
Actually, they just told me one of them was cut. There'll be 3.
Aww.
So
For next season.
on February 11th, the new season of World Masters of Illusion starts on the CW, and I taped 4, but I'll be in 3 different episodes out of the 18 that will be airing once a week for the next 18 weeks. One of them is the finger routine done left-handed.
Yay.
I can't wait. We're set our TiVo. I'll put it on there. TiVo. I don't have a TiVo anymore. DVR.
Yeah.
So, tell me about your family life. Are you married?
No, I'm still happy.
You okay? All right.
Hey.
That's all right.
It's
No, I have a girlfriend for 20 years, so we may as well be 25 years, so we may as well be married. But no, I'm still single and no kids.
All right.
You know, my business is my life
yeah.
and my hobby.
That's another thing I was saying. You're passionate about magic, and not only performing, not only researching, not only putting out great products, but you hang out with magic. I mean, magic is like me. Magic is your life. So many people, even full-time magicians, they just clock in and go home and they do other things. I can't turn off from magic, man. And I need to say,
which is great, I think, because I'm an amateur. I mean, an amateur at heart, because I'm always studying and practicing. And I think for you to have that attitude, being a professional magician, doing shows constantly is very, very difficult. Because once you get a show together, you say, you know what, I can do this. I don't need to work on new stuff. I don't need to buy new stuff. Don't need to play with new stuff. And, I'm not that way. I'm always buying and playing and messing around, which is really, otherwise you get like a disgruntled, I don't want, it becomes a job. And anything to avoid making it into a job is great.
Well, I worked at a shop when I was going to college. And one of the worst part of that job, and it was awesome. I mean, I was learning I didn't know who Doug Henning was. He wasn't on TV in my heyday, in my youth. I'm learning about Doug Henning. I'm learning about Harry Blackstone Jr. This is early 90s. And I'm loving it. I'm loving the history. I'm loving the books. I'm loving everything. But every new product was a new card trick. And I got burned out what I thought was magic, because I thought it was just all cards, because that's what everything that came in. And also girls about that time. So my priorities were really getting pulled, right? And it's like, you know what? I'm burned out on magic. I'm done with magic for a while. I'm going to go to work and whatever. And then it just hit me. Man, there's rubber band magic. There's comedy magic. There's animal magic. There's escape. I'll never learn it all. And I've never been burned out since. I mean, every day I'll dabble, try something else, and pick up a different.
And the people you just named that are friends of mine, they have lifelong passions for magic. Those are like Paul Daniels to the end. He was messing around with stuff, reading stuff, playing with stuff. Harry Lorraine, I just talked to him 3 days ago, and he's 90. He's going to be 97 in May, and he's still like practicing stuff and playing and working out, problem solving, and all those people. Di Vernon, his whole life, Herb Zarrow. I mean, all the people that are my best friends are constantly always talking about magic, looking at what's new, looking for new ways to do old things, or old ways to do new things, but we're always messing around, always. I have a core group of friends that I probably have dinner with maybe once, twice a week, or every other week sometimes, if not possible. And we're always, talking about engineering end of how would you build this prop? What is the best process? I mean, not just the effect, but everything that goes into making it as well.
Wow, that's awesome, dude. I love it.
We all have our own little specialties, so when we come together, you're getting ideas from different backgrounds, different skill sets.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. He needs some people around here to do that.
I'm in Virginia.
Move to Jersey. What can I tell you?
No, well, we can get beer anywhere here. We don't we don't have to bring our own. And I can make left turns. So
oh, okay. Well, why?
Why? I'm in an RV pulling a trailer to all of my gigs. It's nice to be able to make a left turn instead of
we have Walmarts you could park at.
Yeah. Good. That's good. So what are you working on next? What do you have coming up? Anything besides?
I never just work on one thing. I'm always like, because you never know it's like you work on 10 different things and you never know which is going to get to the finish line first.
Right.
Because there are a lot of other things involved. So I really don't know what's going to be next. I am thinking of doing a full evening show. So I'm looking at around some venues and stuff, and it's going to be a little bit different than what most shows are. I want it to be half stage, half close up. So I start as a stage act, and then I walk to a close up table and do some close up, go back to stage, and then close up. Which is the way I used to do like parties also. I used to do a formal close-up show, and then I walk in on one knee in the middle of the group and then do like intimate magic for everybody and then walk back to finish off the show. So I'm looking into that, and I already kind of like put an outline of what I would do. But, I've been thinking about this a long time. It may never happen because it's really not a moneymaker. It's just a distraction, but a fun distraction.
Did you have a show like that with Mark Salem?
Yeah, we did that a bunch of times. Mark lives not too far from me, and we talked about possibly doing it. There's one nightclub that we did it at that asked us to come back. So if we wanted to, we could do that, which is called Mind Games Reloaded. It's highlights from his Broadway show, and I do the first 30 minutes. He does the next 45. It's a very, very good show. You saw a version of it, and but I just I don't know. I want to do it myself.
Yeah,
we might revive that, and Mark wants to, and the nightclub wants to. I just don't know if it will happen.
Well, there's 7 days in a week. You can do your show one night, do his show the next.
I know, but a one-day show is like 3 days of work.
Well, so. Talking about setting up 10 different projects and not knowing what goes to the finish line. What was your COVID like? Because I didn't get anything accomplished. Like
I got everything accomplished, because before COVID, I was doing, maybe 10 conventions a year. I was doing the shows. I was, I never realized that staying home, I can actually focus and get products out really well. At the beginning of COVID, I didn't know what was going to happen. So first thing I did, I have my lighting and camera stuff anyway that I shoot my trailers and tutorials. So I immediately started doing Zoom lectures. I was the second person in Magic to actually do a lecture for Magic clubs on Zoom. So I did about 50 of those, and I was done. I said, that's a good number to stop. And they were all over the planet. So I could do like 3 in a day, where I would be like in Hawaii, one, in Australia, Chicago, Hawaii, in just, a 12-hour period.
That's awesome.
And that was fun. And it increased my mailing list because I forced everybody to give me their email address. I also gave them specials, so they bought stuff. So financially, the lectures were very, very good for me. But then the way I really earn my living is to put out new product. And what I never realized is when I travel and do these shows and do these conventions and do all the stuff that I do, I have to restart my focus on my projects. And by just staying home for a year and a half, I put all my efforts into putting out product, and I've never put as much or as good stuff as I did during COVID. And that's why now, like I said, I was doing maybe 10 conventions a year. This year in 2003, I'm pretty much only doing 2.5.
Wow.
So I'm not really traveling at all this year, unless it's something special that I have to do. But I'm going to do Magiclife in August in Vegas. I like Vegas. And I'm going to do Fectors in Buffalo in April. And then the day after Fectors, since I'm in Buffalo anyway, I'll be doing the Money convention. But that's about it. No, nothing else. I've been turning down lectures and a lot of different shows and stuff because I want to stay home and put out product. That's what I love doing, And
Yeah.
and that's why I committed to the Mohican Sun, because once a month I get to like be a show off and do a show.
So what is the Marty convention? I'm probably saying it wrong.
Marty Magicians Alliance of Western New York. It's been going on for like 80 years or 75 years or something like that.
Okay. I had never heard of that one. All right.
Yeah, it was started by the same person who started the IBM, Gene Gordon.
Wow. So your book test. A friend of mine had it on his bookshelf, and I have magician and non-magician listeners. Explain to me what a book test is, because I want you.
Basically, you have some books on a shelf. Well, my version of it anyway is someone picks a book, another person names a page. They go to that page. They remember the first word and last word of that page. So they could have had any page. You now read their mind and you tell them what 2 words they're thinking of. That's the simple version of it. But my version is the easiest one in the world, and it's one I used to open my shows with for many, many years.
Now,
it's also my best-selling product.
Is that the business one, though? Is that the old one in the 80s was like the business one? Is that
yeah?
That
yeah, I kept running out of books. Every time I reprinted, it's 2 different hardcover books.
Okay.
And the nice thing about that is the magicians that loved the first one had to buy the second one, and now I'm up to volume 6. As a matter of fact, if you saw, a lot of people have all 6, so there are 12 hardcover books, so they have an entire shelf in their office, and people just go grab any book on that shelf, and they can do it. So,
wow. It comes in groups of 2, though, right?
Yeah. So that's why 12 hardcover books.
And you call that WOW? Is that the WOW?
Wow. Yeah, I thought I was clever when I was young, and WOW stands for Walk on Water, and that was the pitch, the Walk on Water book test, because how else can you top this?
Right. That's awesome. That's
I
good.
like that. I like that.
And that's your bestseller.
Yeah.
Wow.
One of them, yeah.
What else that is a really good seller or something you've been proud of over the years?
Well, my finger book has gone through many printings. My twisting arm, the twisting arm illusion went through many printings.
Let me stop you on that. So your finger, what is the Finger Fantasies is the name of that book?
Yeah.
And that's the print?
Yes.
I have that over there.
But you don't have the hardcover edition with Muhammad Ali on the cover.
I don't have that one. No, but I have
2 free DVDs on the inside.
Oh no!
Don't make me go dig. But I do have it. So
this is for the people that are watching this on video. This is a picture of me teaching Muhammad Ali how to make his fingers disappear.
Wow.
Awesome.
For the audio listeners, I'll put it on the Facebook group. That's
okay.
Dude. How was Muhammad Ali? How was that? How was that experience?
Oh, it was great. He was such a nice guy, and and what happened is, I make my finger disappear, and he starts screaming, "You're the greatest of all time! You're the greatest of all time! You're the greatest of all time!" And then he's screaming this, and I say, because that was one of his taglines, and I said, "Can you put that in writing?" And he says, "Sure." So he writes to Meir, "You're the greatest of all time." And I was stupid. I say, "And can you add in finger magic?" So I have an autograph that says, "You're the greatest of all times" in finger magic. And it's in the book. It's in the book, the autograph.
Wow. So your arm twisting illusion, that was just a booklet, correct?
Yes, but it's also reprinted in the new version of Finger Fantasies.
Now, the first time I saw that, I think the first time I saw it was David Blaine doing it at one of his specials. Was he doing your method? That was yours?
Yeah, I taught it to him.
Wow, that's awesome, man.
I also taught it to Harry Anderson, who did it on The Tonight Show. And I also taught it to David Copperfield, who also did it on The Tonight Show.
Oh, wow.
Wow. I want to see those appearances.
Yeah.
Are they
on? I'm sure they're on YouTube. Yeah.
I have never seen Harry or David do it. David Copperfield.
Yeah, Harry was the first person that did it on TV after me.
Wow. Wow. How was
And
he?
by the way, you get to see it on. That's one of the episodes of Massive Illusion. I did that as well.
Your arm twister.
Nice.
Wow. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So you have MeirYedid.com. That's MEIRYEDID.com. That is for people just learning more about you and to book you, correct?
Correct.
And then you have My Magic.
Although it's hard to book me because I say no to so many things. A friend of mine said you should have a business card that says what you don't do, because that'll be a much more impressive list.
So what if somebody hires you for this? Yeah, I mean, I thank you so much for having time for us tonight. But what if somebody hires you for something like this, just to do like a virtual show? Is that more up your alley?
No. Well, no, I'm not doing virtual shows. I'll be happy to talk to my friends, but that's about it.
Okay. All right. So, well, MeirYedid.com, you can get some information on him. Don't try to hire him. He'll probably throw money at him. He'll magic
Yeah, that's all.
So, MyMagic.com has all those products on there. His Wow book test, his new
But that's
Rondo
only for magicians. Only for magicians.
Only for magicians, mymagic.com. If you want that. So we have a little bit of everything. We have magician, non-magician here. I don't know. Do you have any funny magic stories you want to share with us? We have like 5 minutes left. Anything?
No, I got nothing. You drained me. I'm empty.
You're empty. You got nothing. Crazy show business story.
I'm always thinking. I'm a forward thinking person. So it's like for me to what I just said to you about my past. It never occurs to me. It just spilled out of my mouth for like the Bowie. Or I mean, it's not something I talk about. But I'm sure I've had a lot of funny situations. I just can't remember them.
Well, help me.
Put him on the spot. You put him on the spot.
That's okay. And I'm telling you, 4 minutes left. So
because I don't usually talk about myself, so I know it's hard to tell today, but
well, that's another thing that I love the podcast, Meir, because I've known you for 20 years. But I'm like, I knew he was in a car wreck, but I don't know all of that stuff. And I'm like, are you married? Do you have kids? I don't know this stuff. I see you at a convention. You're hanging out with the boys. I never see a woman on your arm. I don't know this stuff. So
she gave up. She gave up going to magic conventions.
We started having kids. That one did too.
I was stuck in the hotel room watching the kids.
Exactly.
Bored, and I felt like they were interrupting lectures and things. So I was just hanging out in the hotel room with them. And I'm like, honey, I just stay home. So when they get a little older, I'll be coming back. Don't worry.
But she's awesome. When we come home from a convention, we're talking. Did you like that trick? Did you like what he did with that? And to pitch it back and forth and to come up with ideas for our show, or don't do that. You learn a lot. Yeah, I didn't like that at all. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I was very young in an IBM meeting, there was a stage magician who was mediocre. And I'm sitting next to a friend of mine, an old timer, and I say, I could do that act. And he goes to me, but would you want to do that act?
Yeah.
And that's how you learn. But I also, I've seen a lot of magic acts in my life, a lot. Because at my peak, I was attending 30 conventions or so a year with a booth. And what I've learned is there are a lot of bad acts, of course, but that not just magic. If you go to a comedy club, there are a lot of bad acts. But what I've learned is that every one of those acts, the bad ones or the good ones, have 1 minute, one thing in there that makes them think they're going to become a star. And what I try to do when I watch these shows is look for that one spark, one idea that they had, that they built an entire act around just so they can do that 1 minute or that 1 second or whatever, or that one routine or that one joke, or, so there's really something. It's like a puzzle for me to see, why is that person on stage? What made him think or her think that she's going to be a star or a magician or a comedian or whatever. Yeah. And a lot of comedy shows, 1 hour show, there may be like a really great 5 minutes in there,
He's watching it. I'm just looking at my watch saying, when's it going to be over? You're digging deeper.
I'm just rambling.
No, you did. Thank you. Thank you for all your time,
But
man.
if you ask me more questions, I'll give you more answers.
No, we're running out of time. We have like 50 seconds and this thing will cut us off and just go dead air. So mymagic.com, only for magicians. Only go there if you're a magician. That's mymagic.com. MeirYedid.com for lots more stuff. And check out that Facebook group because I'm going to put his, I'll put a link to the Masters of Illusion sets when they come out. And I'll put up his Paul Daniels appearance because
Yeah.
that's awesome.
And people can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
And
Awesome.
is that just Meir Yedid?
Yeah. That's all you need.
Meir,
Good luck spelling it, but that's all you need.
MEIRYEDID. It's going to be everywhere. I'll put it out. I promise I'll promote you. Thank you so much, man. One more thing for us to say. See you next week.
Check us out online at wesiseli.com and patreon.com/Wes_Iseli for behind-the-scenes videos, blooper videos, never-before-seen footage, discounts on merchandise, magic trick tutorials, and more. That's Wes Iseli, spelled WESISELI.